My name is Jack, and I am out of job lately. Losing such a large sum of money put me in a spin of anxiety, and the stress of looking for such amount forced me to look for it in a very dangerous way. One evening when I was browsing through the jobs section of the classifieds, I met an unusual ad. It was for a domestic helper in a private mansion with very good pay, but the conditions are somewhat peculiar, working from morning until night and following the owner's instructions. Losing all my savings within a short time, I accepted the job offer. The woman who owned the mansion was Isabelle, who was politely welcoming me on the first day of my work. She said it warmly, "I'm glad you're here, Jack," but her smile looked fake. Something was off. She was probably lying. Isabelle was a beautiful lady. She was neat, well-spoken, and even mannered, but she seemed like a very reserved lady that she did not want to discuss her past. My work started at the house of Isabelle, and for the first days I was preparing breakfast and cleaning the house, but soon she began to demand additional secret errands to be done. She wanted me to get her drinks as she prepared herself, select clothes for her to wear, and even do her makeup. I was uncomfortable at first, but I had bills to pay, so I did as was told. One day, Isabelle told me that while serving her, I should wear a certain type of clothing. She gave me a gentle lavender-colored apron with lace around the edges and told me, "It will suit you well." I was not sure, but then the idea of being fired crossed my mind and I accepted the offer. That was the first time I really felt how strange the job had become. Isabelle then brought me to a cup of tea she said would assist me in being productive. I could not argue with her on this one. I drank it as she directed. The taste of the tea went down my throat and into my stomach, but it was not the heat of the tea. It was more like something inside me was changing. The next morning I woke with a fresh set of clothes neatly laid out next to my bed and a cup of tea. The tea with the unpronounceable name was also served to me. That is when the transformation of my body began to happen gradually. What used to be soft and fitting around my body suddenly started to fit me more snugly. I even felt bowler-like. My waist had reduced and hips became broader. One day my pants were no longer comfortable, and from one day to the other, skirts became more acceptable. But it wasn't just my body that was changing. The environment was different too. Every time I glanced in the mirror, I spotted something new, something that was a woman. My chest started to fill out, and I could no longer pretend that the breasts that seemed to suddenly sprout did not exist. My shoulders relaxed, and what was formerly a rather flat chest became more distinct and round. Every day that went by seemed to make me become more and more like a new person. Still, I could not argue that the changes were not real anymore. I also felt this change from within me as a person as well. I began to feel as if I was losing the man I was, that the man who had been me was slowly disappearing. This feeling of emptiness between my legs increased, as if that part of me was missing. One day, while dressing Isabelle in an elegant dress, she looked at me through the mirror. A slight grin appeared on her face. "You are a real lady now, Jack," she teased him. "Why don't you wear this lovely wedding gown for me?" I was standing in front of the mirror, but covered with the thin white wedding gown that fell freely around my slender body. I ran my hand over my new figure gently, my breasts and hips now full. It was a peculiar sensation, something like freedom, but at the same time, something like nothing at all. For the first time in my life, I felt that I was turning into another person. Wasn't your life as a man full of doubt and confusion? There was a sort of comforting tone to Isabelle's voice. But now, you have a purpose. You have passion. You are growing up a beautiful woman, Jack. Tears welled up in my eyes. She was right. The life I had before was a very vague one. I had many troubles, but now I had a life. The void that used to sit in my chest was no longer there, a void replaced with something that was far more desirable: serenity. I knew I was ready to accept this change, to come into this new phase of life of the woman I was growing into. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe.